Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ecosystem Aces. I'm Chip Rodgers, Chief Partner Officer for WorkSpan, and excited to be talking today with Carla Franklin Richards. Carla, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Chip. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So, gosh, I'm so excited. With reInvent coming up next week, it's a big week for all AWS partners and for AWS itself, so Carla was previously nearly 5 years with AWS and instrumental in a lot of things with the ISV Accelerate program. ISVA is a really well-known program within AWS and for ISV partners. And gosh, doing a lot of things. I'm going to let you tell it, but doing a lot of things to sort of, keep the momentum going with co-sell with partners between AWS and partners. But Carla, maybe let's start there. Talk a little bit about. Love to hear about what you're doing today, but also talk a little bit about your background at AWS as well.
Thanks, Chip. So yeah, my name is Carla Franklin Richards, and I am a executive level go-to-market strategist. I worked at AWS most recently. I'm now ex-Amazonian, but still have a lot of amazing friends there, and learned so much while I was there. What I did at Amazon was pure strategy. And when I say strategy, I mean helping the company to sell more cloud services. That included my tenure within the AWS ISV, which is Independent Software Vendor Accelerate program, where we actually supported our most strategic partners in accelerating sales of their cloud services and our cloud services, AWS's cloud services, through really smart operational strategy, and also really bringing together a unified team internally that included sales, marketing, operations, and strategy to carve out a plan and improve how our partners sold with AWS, and leading to hopefully more revenues for both companies and growth for years beyond. So that's what I did at AWS in a nutshell, is oversee the connection between internal resources and our partners and their own internal resources in order to accelerate the sale of products and services for both entities, for AWS and our partners.
That's the name.
Yes, that's the name, ISV Accelerate. I also worked for about a year in another AWS, on another AWS, Tiger team that focused specifically on bringing in new partners, bringing in new logos, and accelerating growth there for the business. It's always important to take care of existing partners, but the new logos are what drives future business and future growth for the company. And so that was a really interesting opportunity. And I was able to develop a couple of programs there that looked at tri-party sales, selling with two partners in AWS, and some other really interesting things to enable sales and marketing.
That's really it's fascinating, because I think that's there's so much of partnering these days is right.
Yes.
It's not just two partners working together, because you've always got you've got it. Usually you have you have a cloud provider, and then you have an SI, someone that's sort of pulling it all together and sort of putting it together for building the use case and all that for the customer. And then you have at least one ISV, but many times you have multiples, right? So it's tri-party, but it's actually multi, right? It's like there can be many partners that are all coming together to put a solution together.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head, Chip. Right there. The solution integrators, the SIs, are consulting partners who come in and who actually execute on getting our customers up and running with a particular cloud service or product. But you also need the ISV, the independent software vendor, who offers the software that in question that the customers need to run. And so, by working with the solutions integrator and the ISV and bringing those two entities together with a really smart account manager and smart account mapping, it allows for all parties within that tri-party unit to benefit and to target customers more intelligently, and to really hear the customer and give them what they need more efficiently and more effectively.
I like your approach, in your current role with Carlin Solutions, but even at AWS, I think, as we've talked and sort of prepared for our discussion today, your approach is always to look at the whole business.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not just, it's
And what
starting there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to look at it holistically. In my role now with Carlin Solutions, which I am president of, I work with government entities and also private sector entities on go-to-market strategy solutions. Specifically, and as it relates to our conversation now, I'm also working with AWS partners to help them better work with AWS and better co-sell with AWS, because it's challenging. AWS and other companies like it are huge. They're huge corporate conglomerates. And so oftentimes partners get lost in all of the enablement opportunities, all of the different programs and pilots that they can get involved in to help accelerate sales. And of course, partners want to bring in business. They want to figure out how to get more customers. And companies like AWS or even Microsoft are great conduits for that, because customers of all sizes, whether they be small, medium, or enterprise size customers, come looking for cloud services. But they often have a gamut of needs that really are best served with our partners and an AWS or a Microsoft. So a part of what I'm doing now is helping the customers to understand, what are your goals long-term and short-term? What are the best solutions to reach those goals in terms of software or cloud services products? And then how do you engage AWS or even a Microsoft Azure to identify customer opportunities, to go after leads, to fill that top of the funnel, to get to, marketing qualified, leads that are more mid-funnel and probably guaranteed to convert to a sale. So those are the type of things that I am helping customers with now, and was able to hone a lot of those skills at AWS.
So what is your advice? I mean, how should, for any, because we may have ISVs that are listening, and even some SI, partners, and everyone's in sort of the partnering space. But what are some exactly? I mean, you've defined the challenge.
Right.
How do you get attention, and do you have some sort of key things that folks should be thinking about in order to get attention and get and grow their co-sell?
I think the first thing that I would advise, and I do advise any company to do, is really figure out what your long-term plan is, right? And when I say long-term, typically when you're dealing with a AWS or Azure, you're looking at like a 12 to 18 month cycle, right? Like where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What products are you going to release in the next 12 to 18 months? What products or what types of things are happening operationally within your company over the next 12 to 18 months that may include cost cutting and downsizing? Figure that out. Come up with a strategic document, either for the year or for over 2 quarters, and go with that to your AWS partner development manager or account manager or account executive. Once you have that figured out, you can then work more smartly with them. I think what I often see is that there is a disconnect between the AE's understanding of, or even, I won't pick on the salespeople, but the understanding of some of our supporting mechanisms, their understanding of what the partner is going to be doing, short-term and long-term, versus what the customer actually needs. And so I think if AWS's internal resources better understood what the partners were going to be doing, they could then come up with a more strategic plan or strategic actions to support the partner in their sales. Secondly, I would encourage the partners to really identify resources at AWS, and I often do help partners identify those resources because I still know people there that can best get their products in front of the right account managers whose customers might need those services. And the way you do that, there's a number of tools and resources within AWS's partner portal. I believe Azure has a similar resource portal that partners can go through and see by industry what is available and who is available to talk to. And then thirdly, I would say be very deliberate and action oriented about working with those people and asking them for strategic documents, strategic operational documents like QBRs and MBRs in regards to any type of co-selling relationship. I love the QBR and MBR process because it forces, it's a forcing mechanism that forces teams internally and externally to a cloud provider to really look at what a partner is doing and come up with a strategy for the current quarter and the next quarter. And having that forcing mechanism allows the entire partnership unit, the co-sell unit, to say, okay, we think this can work, or we think that there's a gap that can be filled here. Let's move forward with this, and let's identify other partners, system integrators, or other ISVs that can come in and fill that gap from a security standpoint, or some other an infrastructure standpoint that can better support the customer and their long-term needs. So those are the things that I would really encourage, and I do encourage all partners to do. Come up with that strategy. Just know what you're doing going in. And I think most of our partners do that. Then identify someone internally that can help champion that strategy. Oftentimes that might be an account executive, but that also might be some type of principal level person like myself, who knows the players internally and can get the partner to the right player. And then thirdly, be deliberate about moving forward with a solution and outlining it in some type of operational document like a QBR or an MBR, so that's a forcing mechanism that every month, every quarter, you're reviewing it, you're making sure you're staying on target, you're bringing in marketing resources when needed, you're looking at other ways to further accelerate and further amplify any messages that need to be amplified about new products that are coming out, or existing products that are being revamped, or existing products that may work for a new customer base when you're talking about bringing in new logos. So I think that's a 3-tiered method that's pretty successful. And then the fourth thing I would also include in that is, once the partner group, whatever that is, whether it's tri-party, whether you have 2 partners in AWS or just a partner in AWS that have agreed to work together on for a particular customer or on a particular solution, coming together and outlining in a 1 or 2 pager responsibilities and goals. Oftentimes, partnerships can go astray when there's not an alignment on expectations. That 2-page document, that partnership contract, if you will, that co-sell contract, will will allow both sides of the table to align on what is expected. Who's supposed to bring the big enterprise customers? Who's supposed to, how many deals are you supposed to bring in per month or per quarter? What are your expectations in terms of conversion to actual sales opportunities? Lay that out. Even if you don't necessarily meet all of the milestones within that co-sell agreement, you can still have something to kind of look at and reflect on, and to work towards as the partnership grows and solidifies.
Gosh, those are great points.
Good. Well, I'm glad they're helpful. Yeah.
No, those are great. I think the the QBR is really powerful, right? Because you get people together, and there's, like you said, it's a sort of forcing function, where everyone's kind of working, and you've got emails and Slack and all the regular cadence calls and things like that. But you get the right executives, and then I love the documented 2-page sort of statement or agreement about, even though it's not a formal agreement, but just kind of putting it down on paper so that you all recognize, roles and responsibilities, objectives, and things like that. That's terrific. Yeah. So how were you when you were a part of the building the AWS, the ISV Accelerate program? What were some of the things that you helped bring to life, and and how did that impact the ability for partners to co-sell with AWS?
Well, one of the things that I contributed to with ISV is a new form of what is called internally at AWS interlock. And the interlock is I don't know if you heard the term before, Chip, you may have, but interlock is really just what I kind of mentioned before with the co-selling partner agreement, which would be a more formalized document. But interlock is the coming together of the parties, the primary parties involved, to meet and decide on a course of action. And that would happen that can happen monthly or quarterly. And I mentioned that it's something that I introduced. I was working with an amazing manager at the time who had come over from Microsoft Azure to help reform the ISV program into something that was a bit more future looking and a bit more future thinking and a bit more successful with the number of opportunities generated from the program. And so in introducing a formalized interlock program, which included monthly meetings, monthly interlock connects with key stakeholders who were part of the overall planning committee, quarterly connects, which included leadership on both sides, the partner side and the cloud service provider side, in my case, AWS. What that did was, again, it was another forcing function to make sure we were tightly aligned with the overall sales goal and strategy. When that didn't happen, what we found was oftentimes things would go kind of undone, and you would have cases where the customer need was met, but it could have been met a bit better, or there would be some misunderstanding as to the number of opportunities that a partner or AWS or any cloud service provider could bring to the table. When you had a formalized interlock, and when that takes place and when that exists, you have more, again, of a meeting of the minds. You have more synergies that can take place. You have more opportunity to catch any misses or gaps in processes that would cause a lost opportunities, or customers that would otherwise fall through the cracks because they weren't being identified or weren't being properly supported to really have a better overall experience and buy more, consume more on AWS, use more
Mm-hmm.
workloads. And so the interlock itself was something that I was really proud of introducing to the ISV Accelerate program, because it really helped solidify and document what we were doing, but it also led to a better partner and customer experience. And at the end of the day, it yielded more sales for everyone involved. And so it was more of a rigorous process, I should say, because you did have to keep up with the monthly meetings and the quarterly meetings, but it's something that's very important. In addition to all the things that I mentioned before, understand, having that, meeting of the minds and understanding what partner is doing what, who's bringing this, these types of opportunities. It just overall helped the co-selling experience for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love how it's built within, again, within of the business strategy, right, for both partners. That it's not that's sort of that's the context of the interlock process, and
and it also helps to avoid escalations, which is something that we had talked about also.
It's funny, I was just going to ask that. One of the things we wanted to talk about was avoiding escalations and conflicts. So go ahead, Carla.
Well, and who wants to have to escalate something to a VP, a director or VP, or even higher? I mean, there are things that get escalated to the C-level. You want to handle things within a team. But oftentimes when there's friction, when there are too many cooks in the kitchen, or you don't have the right cooks in the kitchen, for example, you don't have the right marketing partner internally, you don't have the right marketing plan, that leads to an escalation, especially when you don't have a set cadence of meetings or quarterly quarterly operational documents that force people to kind of look and see what's going on right now. What happened last quarter? What do we need to happen this quarter in light of what's going on economically? Right now we're in the middle of a little bit of a not downturn, but a little bit of a wait and see after the election. I think that, corporate leaders smartly wanted to see what was going to happen with business. AI is going to be a big player moving forward either way. But what does this mean, post-election, now that we have a Trump presidency? Well, it could mean huge opportunities for our, AWS's partners, even Microsoft Azure's partners, moving forward, given the fact that we want to make government more efficient, right? This would be a use case for an interlock, an election change at the federal or state level. How can a partnership, a tri-party, or just a basic co-sell partnership go forth and take advantage of these opportunities in light of all the great things that are happening within cloud services and products? How could we leverage AI to make the government more efficient, which is something that's gotten a lot of press nowadays? If there is an effort to downsize, what can be done, by leveraging the partnership of SI and an ISV who can come in and stand up, some smart systems that are secure to replace, certain jobs that are redundant. I think it's a huge opportunity. And again, that interlock, that partnership agreement, understanding what is coming down the pipeline for both partner and cloud service provider can help identify how to move forward in uncertain times like this. So, getting back to the escalation piece, all of that is a bunch of stuff to do. It's a bunch of stuff to do. And so when there is a misstep or someone's out of the office or there's confusion about who does what, things get escalated. They do. And you don't want things to be escalated to the VP level or director level. It's not a good look on either side. And VPs and executives that are a bit higher up on the corporate ladder, they don't want to deal with that either. They are future thinking. They are looking forward to what's next for the company. They're looking to grow, and having to deal with those escalations is hard on them also. So, I do think that one of the best ways to avoid escalation is, working with whoever is your enablement support to come up with, these partner agreements, to do your QBRs, to have the monthly interlocks or the quarterly interlocks with leadership, to really understand and get ahead of any challenges that are presenting themselves or that may pop up in the future. That is the best way to avoid escalations.
Well, this has been fantastic, Carla. And these are all, I know we've focused a lot on sort of AWS or cloud providers and working with cloud providers, but some of the principles that you're talking about can apply to any partnership, right? Anytime you're partnering with, because you have, potentially competing objectives and different goals and different cultures and, organizations and things like that. So it's tough when you bring two companies together and try and find
It is. It can be the norming and forming, right? That's typical of product and project management. And you hit the nail on the head again, Chip. Right? You're bringing together different entities that have their own interests and their own goals, and you need to really take that moment and sit down with the great resources that are provided by a cloud service provider. Again, your enablement people, your PDMs, your PMMs, and figure out who's doing what. What are our goals? What are we shooting for? Of course, we're shooting for the stars, but what are we also shooting for realistically that we can get done in the next month, in the next quarter, in the next half year, semester, right? And so all of the things that I mentioned before, not only better support co-selling and help avoid escalations that no one wants to have happen. They just also make for a better sales process and a better overall team, if you will, co-sell party team. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In a lot of ways, I mean, I think of partnerships like this as a sort of an extending your virtual account team, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your own virtual account team. You've got, technical and product people and industry people, however you sort of pull that together, but it should also include the partner, right? Partners and their influence, their understanding of the environment and priorities at the customer and things like that. So
absolutely.
Well, Carla, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, and I really appreciate you sharing your background, expertise, and it's clear from just the way you've articulated the challenges and opportunities. I think your clients are in really good hands. So
thank you. Thank you. I get great feedback from them, but yes, I'd like to think so. But no, thank you for having me, Chip. And thanks so much for giving me this time to talk about what I do and the importance of partnerships all around. And to your point, it is a way to extend a team, sales, like you said, account management, product, and just to leverage different resources that may have a different perspective and may offer a different path to reach those revenue goals.
Fantastic. Carla, thank you again. Really appreciate you taking the time with us, and thank you all for joining another episode of Ecosystem Aces. And for Carla Franklin Richards, myself, we'll say thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you, Chip.